gonna stay here, no. Ain't gonna keep it low. Now, if you wanna go, let's go. Let's wrap it up and hit the road. I just got an awesome vibe, striking the winner post now. Liberty's on my mind. We've taken off, we've left the ground. You gotta understand that we get one chance.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a kind of a little cook with me. It's not quite the same as what I used to do, where I used to do massive bulk cooking and show you every single little step. I don't have enough time to show you every tiny little step, but you are going to see how I'm putting together these 3 meals. They are super quick and easy to sort of do and to throw together. They are pretty affordable to do, and they're kind of meals that I've done in the past where I can make them up and actually freeze them. And so when I'm on a night that I'm working or just running late with things, or just, you know, we've been out for the day and we don't know what we're doing, then I can easily get them out of the freezer. And it's as simple as maybe just adding some rice or some mashed potato, sometimes a little bit of veggies, extra veggies, but most of the time I put the veggies into these meals, so it's already done. So I just wanted to show you guys because I thought that would be just something that you might like that you can do at home, especially if you're on a tight budget. There's a couple of ways of doing these, so I'm going to show you them. The other thing is that for me, with Johnny and his work, like if he's actually got shifts that go over dinner time, I like to have stuff in the freezer that he can just grab, put into a microwave dish and take to work, and he can just, you know, heat it up at work and eat it, and then he's having like, you know, a healthy-ish, a good meal at work rather than just buying takeaway or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Or not eating, like that's the other thing. So it's really good for me. I love these kind of meals because I can, you know, have them in the freezer, save time, especially like I said, even if I'm, you know, got time and I'm not having to work or anything like that, and I just want to do some fun stuff with the family or whatever, we can always grab this kind of stuff out of the freezer and just heat it up, and it's very, very quick. It's very much a, you know, prepare now, just heat and serve later sort of thing. So I'm excited to show you guys these. You've probably seen them in the past if you are regular watchers on the old videos, but if you are new, please subscribe so you can see more videos like this. I will create a playlist for this type of thing, maybe a meal prep playlist, maybe that's what I'll call it, and that's where I'll start to put all these types of videos on there. So definitely check it out. Check out the rest of the channel, and I do want to point out to come back maybe in the next week or so for a 4-week grocery challenge that I'm going to start. So I thought you guys might like it, might be interested, and you can just follow along, but I'll tell you more about that in that video. Okay, so these are the 3 meals I'm doing today. Now, apricot chicken and the chow mein do all the time, all the time. This one's called beef goulash today, but generally if it's not this, it could be like the lamb casserole, or just some sort of other beefy sort of meal that I've done in the past. So I do change this up just depending on what I'm feeling like at the time. These meals here are very easy to sort of, like I said, create. You can you can kind of diverse the recipe a little bit and throw as much veggies into them as you prefer as well. So that's really good. That will help save time, and you don't have to, like I said, you know, cook a lot of added extras obviously on top of it. When you are doing the meals at night, if you're pulling them out of the freezer, it can kind of all be gone, you know, ready and just gone to. And then the other option is to change up the meats if you want. So obviously apricot chicken, I'll probably stick to apricot, but the beef goulash, I've done this kind of thing, in the lamb casserole and that, with chicken as well. So it can be done a little bit cheaper if you don't want to use any type of beef. The beef I'm using today is actually lamb that I'm using, because I got it down, I got like 5 packets on a really good markdown, so I got them and they've been in my freezer, so I'm going to use those today for that. The mince, I'm actually going to use mince for this. So the other good thing is with some of these Maggi, we'll call it Maggi, I call it Maggi, I'm not sure what everyone else calls it, but the Maggi meals like this, sometimes they'll have a veggie night or a meat night. So it kind of gives you the idea, if you don't have to, if you don't want to add meat into it, you can just do this meal just with veggies and make it like a vegetarian version. So it's really good for that. And I think there are a couple of other ones that you can kind of do this with too. So that's really good to sort of think about. Obviously the apricot chicken, I mean, you could take the chicken out and just do apricot flavouring on veggies. That would work as well. And obviously with the beef goulash too. I mean, if you just wanted to do like potatoes and carrots and veggies, you could do that as well. So they're kind of ways of doing it a little bit cheaper if you didn't want to have meat as such into them. Now, what I really like about these packets is they're a little bit different to the jars, because the jars, because they're liquid already, they do have to have some sort of like preservatives and stuff put into them a lot of the time. But these, if you have a look at the ingredients on them, you just grab the packet in the supermarket and have a look at them, but you can kind of see the basis of what's actually in them. So it's a lot of spices, that type of thing. There's some salt, cornstarch, which is not surprising obviously when you're making up sort of saucy type things. But yeah, lots of herbs and spices and things like that. So that's really good. That was the chow mein. So this is the apricot chicken. You can see in there what's in it. So you can see there's no weird artificial colours and flavourings in these. This is the beef goulash, so you get a bit of an idea of this one as well. They're just really great because it means that you don't have to go out and buy every single little ingredient just to make one sort of meal, and then other ingredients again for the next meal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know if you're going to make this stuff often, obviously it might be worth it to you actually to go buy every tiny little ingredient, but if you're just after something simple and not spending all the money on that type of thing, the packet mixes are really good. Now, the packet mixes themselves, you can usually get 2 for $3, and generally what I like to do is get 2 of something and make a double batch up at the time, usually is what I do. So with some of these today, I'm just trying to think. So the chicken, I'll actually do that in a double batch. The chow mein, I've actually only cooked up like the 500 grams of mince because it's the Costco mince. So I wanted to use the other mince that I had for like a bolognese and some other stuff. So I'm just doing like 1 lot of this. But I will say I've actually put 2 packets of this into the mix of just 500 grams of mince before, just to give it a little bit of extra flavour, but it was too hot, it was too spicy, so we're not doing that again. And then the beef goulash, I do have 2 packets of these as well, and I've done up nearly 1 kilo of the lamb for it. So I will be doing kind of double batches as such for that. The other thing is, obviously, because I'm cooking a lot of this stuff too that I can freeze for Johnny for his you know, work meals and things, I'm actually going to put on some rice today, because all of these can be just served with rice, and rice is his favorite food in the world. Like, he just loves rice, even just plain steamed rice, he loves it. I don't know where he got that from, but it's just always been him. There's different foods he likes, but rice is like, he'd just cook up a whole batch of it and just eat it out of the thing. And in fact, the kids are exactly the same. Like, they absolutely love it. And like, if I leave any rice in the rice cooker and I go to work and I come back and I'm like, oh, that was supposed to be for later or tomorrow or something, the kids and Johnny have gotten into it and eaten it every single time. Like, they just love it. So I am going to put some rice on now just to go with these for Johnny's meals. Alright, I've put on just over 1 kilo, I would say, of rice, and it will take about 45 minutes. So I'm going to cook this up, but I am going to let it cool down before, obviously, I put them in bags and things like that for the freezer. As far as the family goes as a whole, for like family meals, I'm not going to make up those specific kind of meals like that with the rice and potatoes and things already done this time, because generally, because it's for the whole family, I need to put it all in big containers and stuff. What I am considering though is maybe cooking some extra rice at some point and actually bagging that and freezing it, so we don't have to worry about cooking rice even on a night that we do it. I just don't want to commit myself to rice with every single meal for these, because sometimes it's nice to have, you know, the apricot chicken is great with you know, an extra side of like corn and then mashed potato, for instance. So I'll just make that up on the night. So it just, yeah, I want the flexibility, so I'll probably make some rice up and have them there. And I know too that you can purchase the already, like, they're like a cooked rice in a packet, but it's so expensive compared to me just doing it myself. So if I make it, cook it up, put it in the freezer, it will heat up so quickly in the microwave, and I won't need to wait 40 minutes, because that's how long it takes in my rice cooker for the rice to be done. It's usually 40 minutes, so it can be much quicker than that if I've already got it done. So I am going to consider that for the family. Chow mein is the first one we're actually going to do. I have got 2 packets because I've just realised it wasn't 500 grams that I cooked, it was actually 1 kilo of mince that I cooked. So that I'm really happy about because it means I can make up extra and actually freeze it and have, you know, a lot more backup dinners in the freezer. So I'm happy about that. The mince I'm using is the Costco mince, and I love it because, and I have cooked this from frozen, so it is, maybe it looks a little bit lumpy, but in general, when it's, you defrost it properly and don't have to do it the way I did it, it will just break down so easily when you cook it. It's amazing. I don't cook my meats with oils. I cook them in water, so I'm not using any added extra oils. And I've not drained this, so you can see that it's not really fatty at all, which is amazing. If you can't get to Costco because you don't have a Costco membership, then the next lot I like to use is Aldi or Coles. I don't like the Woolworths mince. It's just not, it's really yuck. Like, it's fatty and stuff. I'm not a big fan of it. So, but Aldi is amazing and Coles is pretty good too. Alright, so I've cooked the mince. The next thing I do is add vegetables into it. So onion here and veggies. Now, I'm not buying it individually and cutting it up myself in things that will cost way more to do. This is obviously faster, more time efficient, but also more cost effective for me. So I like to buy the Bird's Eye stir fry veggies. If I can't find it in Woolworths, I get it at Coles. So just think about that depending on the size of your store. This packet here, you can see it's an 850 gram packet, which is really good, and it will be around $5.50 to $6, and there's different ones you can get. This is just the mix that I like. I don't like it when they have like the chestnuts and things like that into them, but this is in general a really good mix for me and very good quality. Like I said, it cooks up really well. This is also a nice mix if you obviously wanted to put them in stir fries, but yeah, just adding this to anything is a really good mix to do. Or if you just want to steam it and have it on the side, it's a good mix for that too, because it's got the little baby corns and things in it as well. Onion is actually the Prep Set and Go diced onions in the freezer section. This one's from Woolworths, but Coles and Aldi actually also do it. Again, I could buy my own onions, cut them up and all of that. It is a little bit cheaper, but I found when I was buying the onions that I was buying in the bag. For it to be cost effective, I was buying a bag of onions, but then they were growing things because I wasn't using it in time. So frozen like this, already diced, just works better for me, and again, works a treat when I'm on like time schedule. You know what I mean? I don't have a lot of time. This is awesome. I can just throw both of these things into the mix, and then I'm kind of ready to go to do the rest of the meal. The cabbage mix, this again is already cut and prepped for me. It was a bit cheaper than me actually buying even half the cabbage. It was only $2 for the bags for the 200 gram. That was at Woolworths. I'm sure Coles has got the same. Aldi definitely has the same because I've purchased it from there before. It's literally just got cabbage. It says coleslaw mix, but it's got cabbage and a bit of carrot. That's all it's got in it. So not much carrot, to be honest. So I just buy it for the actual cabbage, and yeah, again, you can use it in stir fries as well, but for me, obviously I'm using it in the chow mein and it's just perfect for me. Also, a big bonus is obviously I don't have so much cleanup, which is a great help to me, especially when I'm on a time constraint. Onion, I've just put about as much as I would get out of like a small onion, basically. I didn't put the whole bag in that you just saw. There wasn't much left in that bag, but I didn't even use the whole lot of it. So I put this in first just so I can sort of see how much onion's sort of in there as well. That stir fry veggie pack says it's got onion, but it doesn't have a lot. So I just like to add a bit extra because it just adds a, you know, bit more flavor. So I like that. So I won't cook it through or anything because I'm going to add the other veggies first, but I just kind of mix it through to sort of see where I'm at as far as the quantity goes. If I wanted more, then I could add some more, but that looks really good. Alright, the stir-fried veggies I've just added in. So I wanted to show you this because I know Bird's Eye is a lot more expensive than your other cheaper brands, but I wanted you to see the veggies out of that packet. It's much better quality than your cheap sort of lots that they do. Usually the cheaper brands, the pieces of vegetables are very small, they kind of go mushy, they're not a good quality, and that's why they're cheaper, because they're kind of the last bits off and things like that you know, companies need to sort of sell and will sell for cheaper and stuff. So I don't know, I just really like this mix, and you get a pretty even amount of all the veggies too. Like if you wanted to add more broccoli in, I guess you could do it, but for us this is kind of enough. But yeah, like I said, it always cooks up really well, and it actually tastes nice. Like we've had frozen veggies that we've not liked. I always say this, but the Bird's Eye brand of all the veggies we buy, we absolutely love. And yeah, they taste really good. So it's worth paying a little bit extra because previous to that, we would throw the veggies out. Like, we wouldn't even eat them really off the plate. They were not nice and stuff. So, I don't know. Just, this is better value for money for me. I'm just going to add the lid and just let that sort of simmer for a while, just until the veggies are a bit more defrosted, and then I'm going to do the rest of it. I'm adding this in now after I've let the frozen veggies cook for a bit, just so they're all kind of thawed, you know, and even as far as cooking goes. This will break down fairly fast. It kind of, when you first throw it in, obviously it looks like it takes up a lot of space and it's quite chunky, but it does sort of simmer. Does sort of simmer down a bit. Sorry guys. All right, next it's time to actually make this up. So this is very simple. So these packet mixes, usually you just mix them with either like a water or some sort of like canned tomato, that type of thing. So some sort of liquid base, but for us, this one just has to go with water. I have 2 cups of water in here because I need to do 2 of these packets. So I just usually put 1 in at a time, use a whisk and just kind of mix it up that way, just so you can get any lumps out. Really easy. Add the second one in. Oh, it smells really good, let me tell you. Okay, smells spicy though. It's not too bad because I've got so much meat and veggies and stuff, and you serve it with rice or potato, you know, whatever you want to serve it with. It ends up being not too spicy because we just can't do spicy. Johnny and I especially, like, well, Johnny has a reaction terribly. The kids wouldn't really like it probably, and the kids probably won't eat much of the chow mein, I'll be honest, because it's just not their thing, but Johnny and I like it. And the cabbage is good. That literally took like 2 minutes, if that, for it to sort of, you know, go floppy, I'll call it. Just so it's cooked somewhat. Okay, so we're just gonna add the liquid in now. And again, I just kind of, I don't know, just pour it throughout. There's a little bit there. I'll probably just add a little bit more water and mix that in as well. It's a bit like emptying the sauce jar. And then we just need to mix it all through evenly, and then I'll just pop the lid on and have it on a really low simmer. So what it tends to do is, like all these kinds of mixes, is thicken up once it's heated. So because of, you know, probably cornstarch mostly that they've got in the packets, that tends to thicken up sauces. So yeah, it works really well. So if I was making this for tonight and we were, you know, I was prepping it on the night and doing this, I probably only need to let this simmer for like, I don't know, I probably says 10 minutes, but I would probably let it go for like 20 minutes just because I like it to really soak into the meat. And then, yeah, it would be as simple as just serving it with, well, it says Maggi noodles because that's what they want you to buy, but we don't do, you could do noodles, but we tend to just serve it on some rice. My dad cooks it with noodles, and he would just add the noodles, like he cooks up the 2-minute noodles and then just adds them into it and just has it all in one, but we do like to break it down and sort of have it with rice. So yeah, and also we've done it with mashed potatoes, so you can cook it with, you know, have it on anything really, but that's kind of what we do. So you can see it's kind of thickening up already. It's hard for you to see, but I can definitely tell in person. Sorry guys, fogging up. Yeah, I can sort of tell that it's started to thicken up already. So I'm just going to put this on a low simmer, and like I said, yeah, just let it sort of cook through. And the other bonus with actually freezing this kind of stuff is that it will spend time soaking into the meat. So you're not getting a meaty taste, you're actually getting the full flavour, which is really good. Right, next on the menu is the apricot chicken. This recipe calls for just adding onion into it, and that's it. I always like to add veggies into it. If I don't have anything else, I always add in carrot. Like, that's the main thing that I'll add into it because it just cooks up really nice. You can freeze it like that. It's just carrot and onion. Like, it's a really good mix. In today's video, I'll be actually adding in peas, corn, carrot, and maybe some beans, I'm thinking this time. So you can add anything into it just to make life easier when you're actually going to defrost this or cook it on the night. And then obviously all you have to add into it or cook for it is rice or maybe mashed potato. Mashed potato is my favorite thing to have with this, but I'll be adding some rice for Johnny's freezer meal, obviously for work. So you just need the packets. I'm doing 2 packets today because I've cooked up around about 1 kilo, maybe even a bit more of actual chicken. And then some apricot nectar here is what you'll need to use to mix it with this. So it's not water this time, it's this that you use. These are really cheap. They're like a couple of dollars each at Woolworths and Coles. I've never seen it in Aldi, but if you are looking for this, this is in the juice aisle. It's usually on the very bottom shelf or the very top shelf. Just depends on the supermarket, but again, it's really cheap to sort of, you know, purchase and mix up. I like to just purchase one can at a time, maybe in my groceries here and there also, so I've always got it in the pantry. And my VIPs, if you have a look on the VIP lounge, I do have an apricot chicken recipe which uses this and some other things, but again, this is just a very cheap way of doing it. So I like to mix it with this. I like these packet mixes and what it, you know, the flavors that it brings out, so I like this to make up. So we're just going to have a look at the chicken and see if that's cooked. It's looking pretty good. Like I said, I cook everything in water generally, not oils. I had bought this chicken breast already, like not cut up, sorry, it wasn't already cut up, so it was just full on chicken breast and then I just cut it up myself. I just like to do chunks like this, especially when I'm freezing it, because I don't know, it just soaks in well and it's tender and it's really nice. But if you just want to use stir-fried veggies, stir-fried chicken cut up or pre-diced, obviously you can do that. The other option is to actually make up, like cook up some drumsticks and use those. That's another really cheap way of doing it, but I just don't want to deal with the bones and all of that, especially if I can get the kids to eat this. I just want it very easy for them. So I like it this way. It takes up less space when I'm making things up too. So, and especially when I'm mixing a lot of other veggies in with it, it's a really good mix. So there's a little bit of water still in there, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to drain it out. It's not going to affect it too much. But what I am actually going to add into this, and it is good that I've got some water still in here, is I'm going to add in the veggies right now and just kind of simmer them up a bit as well. Alright, so my onion again already cooked. Alright, so my onion again is already pre-done because it's the frozen stuff. Very quick and easy. I'm just mixing that through. I have actually cut up the carrots this time. Because I'm not using just a single vegetable mix. I like to, you know, choose specifics, and like I said, most of the time when I'm making the apricot chicken, I just do onion and carrot in here, and then I just cook like peas and corn on the side with the mashed potato, but we're going to add a few extras in today. The carrots obviously need a little bit of time to sort of go soft and cook through, so this is why this mix, once you've actually got all the ingredients in, needs to sit on a really low simmer just so it does cook through on the carrots. I have done circles this time. Sometimes I like to mix it up and do like chunks and things like that, but circles and cutting the circles in half at times, depending on the size of them, is always a quicker way obviously of it cooking through. Alright, peas and corn, about a cup I would say, maybe a little bit more I've added in, and then some beans in there also. So just for reference, again, bird's eye peas and corn, I really like those. This is around $5 to $6 a bag. And then the baby beans as well, which weren't so baby. They're quite big actually, which was good. So again, that's a 1 kilo bag and it's around $5 to $6. Again, you can use any veggies that you want. I'm just pointing out that I'm using the bird's eye so you know which ones I'm actually using. I haven't used a whole bag or anything, so even at the $5 or $6 a bag, I've still got extra veggies to make up multiple meals. And obviously when you see how much this is making up, it's stretching really far, so it's a good one to have, and a good one to have in the mix, as well as just your normal, you know, steaming if that's what you want to do. So I just wanted to point that out because I know people will say, well, that's expensive for a bag of veggies, and it is, like I said, but we just really like the taste of these ones, so that's why we use them. Just a tip for you, if you do buy the onion like this, even when you purchase it, before you've even opened the bag, always put it into a Ziploc bag like this, because otherwise the smell tends to go through your freezer. So that's why I do it. Obviously once it's opened, it's even worse, so you definitely want a Ziploc bag, but I always, regardless, put these into Ziploc bags. So I'm just adding in my 2 packets of the apricot chicken mix into 2 tins of the nectar, okay? So I'm just mixing it all together. Again, use a whisk because it will just help take out the lumps. You don't want it going lumpy once it's actually in the pot. Otherwise it's very hard to sort of get rid of, especially with the powder. So just going to mix this up and then add the second one in. Try not to add both of them in at the same time. I know it's tempting and I've done it and it's a very bad idea. It just doesn't mix up as well if there's too much in there. So just do them 1 packet at a time. Alright, I'm just going to add it in. Get a little bit of water and just get the last bit too. You can kind of see in there, those little chunks are actually small tiny bits of onion, I've discovered. So obviously when you make this from scratch, you use like a French onion soup mix usually, and you can mix it with the nectar as well, and that's another great way of making it. I think that's how it is in my actual recipe on the VIP lounge, but I don't know, I just like all the added extra sort of taste when it comes to using those packets, so I tend to do that. So I'm just going to mix this up. Again, once the heat hits it, it's going to thicken up and just be really yummy and juicy, and soak well into the chicken. So if you wanted to do a third packet, you could, especially if you've got a lot of veggies like I do, but I just tend to find this is enough. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to let that simmer for a while and thicken up, but otherwise I think that's going to be delicious. Okay, last dish for the day is the beef goulash. So like I said before, sometimes I'll do this one, sometimes I'll do like a lamb casserole one. I just mix it up all the time. I also do the deviled sausages, which that's usually my go-to, but I just don't have any this time, but that will probably come up on another video. So with this one, you're using pretty much just beef and onion and potato. I'm adding in carrot. I'm also adding in peas and corn. And also it actually asks for, I think it's tomato paste to be used. I'm just using tomato sauce because I didn't want to pay the extra for the tomato paste. And I don't think you need it. Like a tomato sauce will do fine. So this is, again, it's going to be very simple and easy to do. I've cooked up around 1 kilo of the diced lamb. I probably could have put another packet in, to be honest, but at the time I just thought, oh, I'll just do 1 kilo, but I probably could have done that. So again, I've cooked that just in a little bit of water. There's a little bit of water left in there, but that's okay. I'm just going to leave it there. If you wanted to drain it, you could, but honestly, it's not going to affect the recipe that much because there's not much in there. I've put the onion, peas and corn in. I just want to show you another veggie mix that I could have used. This is another mix that I buy in the Bird's Eye, of course. Same price, $5 to $6 a bag. So it's a pretty good mix. It's got, what was it, corn, carrot and beans and broccoli in it. This would have been a good mix. I just don't want to open this bag just yet, that's all, because I want this for just like if we're having, I don't know, chicken parmas and veggies and stuff on the side. I wanted to have this just as my steamed veggies, so that's why I'm not using it. But again, it's a good mix. You could have used it. And sometimes, you know, with carrots, taste a bit funny when they've been like your frozen ones, and they taste a bit weird once they're cooked. These tend to taste alright to us. So again, I just really like the Bird's Eye stuff. So it's another good mix that you can use though. So I've also cut up some potato and some carrot just in sort of a chunky sort of format. You don't want to cut up the potato too small because otherwise it'll go mushy once it starts getting soft and cooking. So I try to do a bit of an in-between sort of situation, almost like I was doing roast potatoes, because I tend to do them, you know, an inch or two in length sort of thing. So anyway, this pot is quite full, but once I add the liquid in, it starts sort of cooking and soaking. It'll simmer down just a little bit more with that. I've mixed up the packet mix in the water just like I did before. I'm just gonna pour, I say pour because I am pouring some tomato sauce in there because I'm not using tomato paste. I've probably done more than what you should. I think the tomato paste was 2 tablespoons per packet, so it would have been 4 tablespoons. I do this with my deviled sausages as well. I just use the tomato sauce, but I've probably used, I don't know, maybe 1/4 cup of tomato sauce in here. We do like a sauce, like a tomato saucy sort of flavor when it comes to this stuff. It just helps it make it a little bit more rich and thicken up, but you just judge on what you want to do. If you want to do the tomato paste, definitely do that. I'm just using what I've got here at home. I will point out that obviously this recipe has potato in it already, so it's not something I'm making and then adding mashed potato later with it, or even rice. I mean, you could add rice with it if you really wanted to like stretch it further and bulk it up. But for us, because I've added the extra veggies in it as well, we'll just eat it as is on the plate, so it will be delicious. My mum used to make a very similar thing, and she used to serve it on toast, which was actually really nice. I really liked that. So we could even do that if we wanted something extra with it. But for right now, just this mixed, you know, all together and served as is on a plate is good enough. Again, it doesn't look like much because it's really liquidy, but that will thicken up. But with this, I'm just going to, mix it up, put the lid on, and then put it on a simmer, a very low simmer for quite some time, because I don't want it to cook up too quick where it starts burning the bottom of the pot, you know, so you need to have it on a low simmer, but I need it to cook up so it actually cooks through the potatoes and the carrots. So as I'm doing this, like when I come back to it later, I'll probably just use a fork or a knife or something and just poke the potatoes until they're tender, and that's kind of when you know it's ready. Do you know what I mean? So if you were serving it on the one night, that's what you do. Checking the rice, and it is perfection. Like, it looks so good. I just had a little taste and it's cooked perfectly. I tell you what, I used to cook rice in like a it was just like a microwave bowl that we had with water and stuff, and did it in the microwave, and it was good. It was quick, easy, did it, whatever. But then my dad's like, no, you should get a rice cooker because it'll just cook so much better. And to be honest, it does. It still tastes good the other way, but this is so easy, especially if I want to do a massive lot like this. Like, I really don't have to worry about like it burning or it's just not cooking through enough and stuff. Like, it just works it out, like according to weight, I think. But it's always really good and perfection, especially when you want to do a large lot. So I always have the rice cooking as I'm doing other things, and it does take a while in this one because I've got a really big rice cooker. I don't know how many liters it would be. I would say maybe, would it be 10? I don't know. This rice cooker though was from Kmart, and this is what it looks like. It was about $39. We had the really cheap one at one point because that's what my dad was using, but it had this weird electrical smell, so I took it back and I said no. Like, it just was, I thought it was going to catch on fire, you know what I mean? And it was fairly new, so I ended up getting this one, and I've had no issues with it since. The chow mein has started to cool down, and so has the apricot chicken. I just need to mix them up a bit. Not too hot, but just in the meantime, while I'm waiting for the beef to actually cook, I thought I'd show you guys how I'm going to bag up Johnny's little meals for work. I'm just using the sandwich size Ziploc bags, okay? Cheap from the supermarket. They're good for freezing. That's why I use them a lot for that. If you really wanted to, you could wash them out and reuse them again. It's just up to you. Sometimes they get a bit damaged, obviously, when you're defrosting stuff, or if you need to cut them open and stuff, but otherwise you could probably do that too. So I've done a label here just for the apricot chicken and the date, and one for the chow mein. I've put about an inch or so of rice in each of them. I'm just going to put obviously each meat on top of that, and then I'm going to pop them in the freezer. So easy. I've also got another bag here just to show you how I actually freeze it for our family, like for family meals, into the freezer, because I do have a little bit of a system. So if you haven't seen it, this is for you. It will help you save a lot of space. People will ask me why I don't use containers instead. It's just because the containers take up so much room in my freezer. It means I can't put as much in there, so that's why I don't do it. I like to have the bags. So when it comes to like the chow mein, for instance, that I'll be doing, I'm going to fill this bag, flatten it out, and then I freeze it flat, so it's a bit like a filing cabinet in my freezer. You can put it into containers like that, or you can put it into the freezer drawers that I have. I'll show you. So a little tip for you, make sure this is cooled down, like the food's cooled down before you put it in these bags, just so you can touch it, use it, and I don't know, I just feel weird about the hot food obviously being in the plastic bag anyway. But start to lay it flat. I've kind of done it up to a little bit, like up to a certain point, and there's, there should be, hang on, there's a little hole there. So when I'm pushing it down like this, I can push the air out and then seal it up, so obviously it doesn't leak everywhere. And then I just make sure, it does get hard when you're doing spaghetti bolognese, so that's why you want to make sure, like it's something that's really liquidy, so that's another reason why you want to make sure it's cool before you use it, because if it's cool it tends to be a bit thicker and less runny, so it just works a bit better. So I just flatten it out like this, and then I'm going to, you can see that there, I'm going to put this in the freezer flat, so it'll freeze flat. My drawers are so empty, so I need to stock these up so I can do this. But what will happen, obviously there's one packet in here, so that doesn't really matter. But if I had a lot of packets, because I do them flat, like freeze them flat, then I can sit them up like this, and they just store in each drawer like a filing cabinet. So this is my chicken drawer, and I can clearly see what it is. If I don't know what it is, I'm still writing it on the outside here, so I can turn it over and see, but most of the time, because it's stuff I always make, I know what it is, so it's just a space saver, basically, the bags. You can fit so much more in here, which is why I don't make full meals in containers very often, because I want to fill this up as much as possible. With Johnny's, because he's got the rice in the bottom, you could do this if you had pasta or mashed potato or something else, you know, if you were layering things. I can just put it flat like this as well, and it works fine. I didn't do this with a stir fry recently in Johnny's little area in the freezer, which you saw, because I just quickly threw it in there, and that was a bad idea because it just takes up too much space. Again, if I'm doing it flat, then I can stack them on top of each other and put them on his little shelves in that section. Apricot chicken's done. It went off a little bit to the side there, but you get the general idea. You can see both portions. And then on his little shelf here, I put the bags on their side so I can see. Actually, let me turn that one around. I can see that they've got both rice and food in there. So it just means, especially if Johnny's getting these out himself, because I'm at work and he's doing his own thing, he can at least see that he doesn't have to make rice or pasta or something to go with the meat portion like this one. This one doesn't have anything with it. I think that one's deviled sausages actually. So, you know, he can just pull that straight out and he knows it's got everything he needs in it. Now, as a comparison, see how much less space this takes up, and I could probably fit another 1 to 2 meals on top compared to one I've just left like that. So try not to do this. This was just a rush job one night when I did it, but otherwise generally I freeze everything flat, so it does save a lot of space. The beef, I'm just checking the potatoes. They're getting soft, but they're just still a little bit tougher. I'll just check the carrots as well if I can get one. Yeah, they need just slightly longer, not too much longer. But what I'll have to do, obviously, with all of these is let them cool right down before I bag all of them up, because you can't do it while it's hot. Like, you really need it to, you know, cool down and thicken up and stuff like that so you can work with it. Like I said, this particular dish, I don't need to add anything with it. You could add rice if you wanted to. Probably Johnny might like that, but otherwise it's just as is in a bowl. So it's a good one. It's a really good one to have. Oh, that potato's soft, isn't it? Oh, maybe they're done. I might just leave it for another like 5 minutes, I think, and then I'll just let it cool down, I think. So yeah, otherwise they're all done. So that's 3 easy budget-friendly meals that you can make and freeze, which is a bonus. It will help save time. And yeah, serve just quite easily with added veggies and mashed potato and, you know, pasta if you want, or rice, whatever you choose. They are just 3 go-tos that are very handy to have in the freezer, or even cook ahead for a couple of nights. You know, if you're making one, maybe you can make the other at the same time so you don't have to cook the next night, that type of thing. But yeah, all very budget friendly. You don't have to go out and buy each individual spice and, you know, ingredients, meats and stuff like that all together, and which will cost you a lot more than paying, you know, the $3 for 2 packets, for instance, you know what I mean, plus the other ingredients. It really will add up very quickly if you have to buy each individual spice jar. So this is just an easy way and budget friendly way of getting going on this kind of food that you can do at home very easily. And you can put all of them in the slow cooker too. I've done that many a times. You can just put them all in the slow cooker and cook them up. Even the chow mein's been pretty fine as well. And you could put it on in the morning and then just leave it all day, and dinner's done that night if you really wanted to as well. So that's really good. My biggest tip for you would be to always cook 2 packets at once. Like, do double the lot, because it just means if you're cooking in bulk, it means that you can freeze extra, which is always very handy. So even if you want to do a fresh batch for that night for dinner and then you want to freeze it, you could. But honestly, doing the frozen and reheating does not affect the taste at all. It tastes completely fine. So I love to do that. So anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check out the rest of the channel and subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys probably tomorrow. Bye.